welcome to the It's Lenny's Birthday edition of And They're Off. Steve Haskin, did you know that Oak Tree at Hollywood Park will feature a pigskin and ponies handicapping contest this year? Each Sunday you have to pick 3 horse races and 3 NFL games correctly for a chance to win $800.
Well, not until you just told me. I didn't know about it. So, but anyway, I just want to take this opportunity to wish you a very happy birthday. Now, as far as going back to that, what's with the $800? I mean, who came up with that amount? They couldn't make it an even thousand? I don't know.
It's Hollywood Park, Steve. Everything's discounted.
I'd like to know where the other $200 went.
It went for the microphone in the Zenyatta farewell ceremony, I think. Steve, this football contest, of course, will be of no use to you since the team you picked to win the Super Bowl has yet to win a game. But I think this is a good idea to get people out to the track on Sundays who probably know more about football than you do.
Oh, thank you. First of all, it's 2 games, okay? I mean, the Cowboys have 1 loss left in the other teams in their division.
How many games have they won this year?
Well, it's only 2 games.
You're not answering the question.
None.
Thank you.
Which you just said already. Okay. I'll tell you what. See me in 14 weeks, okay?
Do I have to? I happen to think this is a good idea, Steve. Football is extremely popular, and it's the only sport with more injuries than horse racing, so we look good by comparison. But look, there's 20 Sundays of NFL games, if you count the postseason, the Super Bowl, that, you know, we can use to get people who are football fans at least out to the racetrack, you know. So kudos to Hollywood Park and Oak Tree. I think it's a good idea to, you know, get football fans out and partake a little of both sports at one time.
I agree. You have nothing against it. That sounds good to me. It sounds like a very interesting wager, so I'm all for it. Anything to bring the fans out.
Yes, and while they're at it, I think the racetrack should give patrons who show up a 3% break on takeout. You know, maybe give people a little incentive to come back out to the racetracks. Let's get creative. As long as we're getting a little creative, let's get a lot creative and bring some people out to the racetrack. All right, very good. Steve, the Breeders' Cup is just over a month away. Can you believe it? It just seems like 11 months ago that we had one. While we're talking, while we're talking about sports betting, what's your over/under on the number of Breeders' Cup turf races, and this does not include these juvenile races, that will be won by North American-based runners?
Well, let's put it this way. I'll let you figure out the over and unders. That's not my kind of thing. You know, I tell you what. Maybe you can get down at Hollywood Park on a nice over and under, and bet it with the Cowboys Texans game coming up. How's that?
Get to the grass races, will you?
All right. Okay. Listen, I will say this for the turf. Okay. If our best horses cannot beat Debussy, Chinchon, and Redwood, I mean, what's going to happen when the Europeans send their elite horses over for the Breeders' Cup turf? I mean, those horses won the Arlington Million, the UN, the Northern Dancer, and these are Group 3 horses. So I'm just saying it looks like we're going to be in a lot of trouble because the horses that the Europeans are going to be sending over for the turf are many lengths better than these horses. In fact, Chinchon came back after his win and finished dead last at Longchamp last week. Now, if we do have a savior, you know who it's going to be, of course. I don't have to tell you. Yeah. It's going to have to be Patio Prado. So it'll be interesting to... Yeah. Yes, your horse. So it's going to be interesting to see how he handles the 1.5 miles, assuming he runs in the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic, which I believe that's where he's heading. Now, if he can handle a 1.5 miles and be like a Kitten's Joy type of 3-year-old, then maybe we've got a chance. But as far as the other grass horses right now, I just don't see how we're going to be able to stack up against those horses. So, you know, with Goldacova coming and Machvi and Paco Boy and maybe Rip Van Winkle, I mean, we definitely need to step up in the mile. And if that's not enough, if the Europeans aren't enough, let's not forget about the Japanese who are sending 2 horses over this year. Espoir City is coming for the Classic and Red Desire for the filly and mare turf. Red Desire is a top-class filly who's beaten colts her entire career. In fact, beat the Dubai World Cup winner in Dubai in the prep race this year. And Esbar City won the Japan Cup Dirt very, very impressively last year. You know, we used to look at the Japanese horses as pretty much of a joke, and then all of a sudden Cesario came here and looked like an absolute freak, winning the American Oaks, and the Casino Drive came here off of one start and romped in the Peter Pan, and probably would have won the Belmont that year if he didn't get hurt the morning of the race.
Yeah, made in Japan used to be a joke for all products coming from Japan. Those days are long since over. Steve, do we have any idea where horses like Sydney's Candy and Twirling Candy are heading? Could they go in the mile?
Well, it's possible. Yeah, Sydney's Candy is going to be prepping in the Oak Tree Derby, so he definitely is going to stay on the grass, and he'll be heading for the mile. Twirling Candy is going to be running in the Goodwood, and we'll see how he does. So then John Sadler will have his an option afterwards, whether he wants to stretch him out even farther in the Classic or drop back down for the Dirt Mile. But I think this horse running in the Goodwood is going to be very intriguing because we really don't know how good this horse is. He could be some kind of a freak.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I'm not sure if Gioponti's the same horse he was last year.
Yeah.
The usual QT is a horse that's kind of in between distance-wise. So, yeah, we're going to have our
he's a good mile. No, I tell you, usual QT will be a lot better with the shorter stretch. That was a long stretch at Woodbine.
Yeah.
And Court Vision's best distance right now is a mile, and he's a consistent closer. So it's not like we have nothing against these horses.
Yeah.
Court Vision is a good horse who's in good form. And usual QT, I just think, you know, he just made his move too soon, and I don't think he realized how long that stretch was. Yeah. So, you know, in the shorter stretch, he'll be a lot better.
Well, they're going to be good deep races, so at least we'll have that going for us, whether it's Europe or us. Steve, the Keeneland September yearling sale, the largest sale of its kind in the world, is in its second week presently. Now, for you racing fans who don't think sales are important to you, guess what? Racehorses don't get delivered by the stork flying over stable areas. They come from people willing to take the risk of buying and standing stallions and breeding mares, hoping that in 2 or 3 years they're going to be able to sell or race the horses that they produce. And if you think there's a shortage of racehorses now, the foal crop for next year is expected to be about 27,000, down from a high in the mid-30s just a couple of years ago. And it's probably going to go down lower as supply meets demand. Regional markets like California and Florida are already seeing major drop-offs in the numbers of mares bred. So while this Keeneland sale in the first week definitely has not been a disaster, in fact prices are up a little over last year's debacle, the number of horses sold this year is still down about 20% from last year. In the first half last year, about 1,475 horses were sold. We're down to 1,225 this year. This is going to mean more contractions of race days and perhaps even racetracks. So if you haven't done so already, get out to a sale near you and go buy a horse or two. Steve, go buy a horse.
Oh, thank you. Hey, look on the bright side. When Man of War was running, there was 1,600 foals.
Okay. All right. Now
you know me. I'm just a I'm just a glass is half full type of guy. You know that.
You are not a ray of sunshine, a whole sky full of sunshine. Steve, there has been a clamoring, as you well know. All right, maybe clamoring's a little bit of an overstatement. I think we got one email asking us to do a brand new and they're off top 10 list. So we're going to cooperate. Wow. Steve, we're going to look in your crystal ball and give our top 10 predictions for the remainder of 2010. Steve, kick us off, the top 10 predictions for the rest of the year.
Okay, get the rim shots ready. Number 10, Zenyatta will be retired again after winning the Breeders' Cup Classic. Then, after being honored at Del Mar, Fairplex, and Los Alamitos, will be unretired again to try and equal Kinsom's record of 54 wins and 54 starts.
Is that really going to happen?
Hey, you never know.
It could.
We didn't think this was going to happen.
She's halfway there. All right, number 9. Steve Haskin will be served with a restraining order after stalking actress Diane Lane at bicoastal screenings of Secretariat. Steve, has that happened yet?
Actually, it did. Actually, I've been issued a restraining order after our last show when you said how obsessed I was with her.
Yeah, don't, if there's a knock on the door, don't answer it. All right, Steve, number 8.
Okay, number 8. With Breeders' Cup now paying all expenses, every winner of a win-and-you're-in race will run, forcing the Graded Stakes Committee to downgrade all Breeders' Cup races to Grade 3.
Yeah, that's good. All right, number 7, prediction for the remainder of 2010. Native Hoosier Mike Pegram will call looking at Lucky's upcoming win in the Indiana Derby the biggest thrill he's had in horse racing while sober.
Well, what, did they run out of Coors Light at Hoosier Park?
I think Mike has reached his lifetime limit. He's right up against it. Number 6 prediction, okay. Steve.
Okay, number 6. To help out a fellow Cuban, Benjamin Leon will send his $4.2 million AP Indy colt to trainer Pancho Martin. And an excited Martin will ask, is Secretariat still in training? If he is, he's going down. That was from a line from the movie, by the way.
Yes. All right, the number 5 prediction for 2010. Super Saver, the forgotten Kentucky Derby winner whose stud value goes down each time he runs, will be retired without setting foot on a racetrack again. Number 4, Rachel Alexandra, whose reputation goes down each time she runs, will be retired without setting foot on a racetrack again. All right.
Oh, cruel, cruel, cruel.
Sorry,
on both of them.
It's what the crystal ball says.
I hope you eat your words.
Yes.
I hope your crystal ball eats its words.
I'll get my palm reread. Number 3, Steve.
Okay, number 3. Mike Rapoli will finish 1-2 in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile with Stay Thirsty and Uncle Mo, after which racing will immediately start testing horses for levels of vitamin water.
That's good. Mike Rapoli, of course, the head of the Vitamin Water Company. Or did he sell that? I think he sold it, right?
Yes, he sold it for like $46 billion,
I think he sold the Coca-Cola. So, all right, the number 2 prediction of 2010. The film Secretariat will be a smash hit, leading to a spin-off TV show called American Bridal.
I like that.
I don't write these folks. They're all in the crystal ball. Okay. And
I hear the first contestant is going to sing "Oh Happy Day."
How about my Kingdom for a Horse? Steve, the last prediction for 2010 is yours.
Okay, the number 1 prediction. The groom at Arlington Park, who was charged with, quote, allegedly having sexual conduct with a horse, as reported in the Chicago Sun-Times, will be sentenced to 45 minutes at Rudin Riddle Equine Clinic, where Dr. Larry Bramlage will geld him.
We don't make these up, folks. They're in the news.
Writing up crystal balls.
If you have any problems, write to your congressman. It's not us. Stable Boy, any predictions for the remainder of 2010, please?
I'm going to call it right now. Super Saver is going to win the Classic. We're going to get a torrential downpour. It's going to get rid of this drought we're in right now, and Super Saver is going to win.
You are aware that Super Saver is injured at the present time, right? Are you aware of that? Doesn't matter.
It's the crystal ball.
Okay.
That's okay. In many ways, Stable Boy is injured as well.
Yes, Stable Boy needs some. He's got a condylar fracture of the right brain. Okay, that's very bold. Very bold. But that's you. That's why we love him. All right, Steve, we'd like to thank our viewers. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Darby Dan Farm.
Yes, well, before we do go, speaking of Darby Dan Farm, I do want to say for all those who go see the Secretariat movie that Claiborne Farm is played by Darby Dan Farm. So you'll get to see the Darby Dan's famous stallion barns and paddocks where all those great horses resided throughout the years. So keep an eye out for the farm. You'll see Darby Dan Farm.
So Keeneland is starring as Belmont and Darby Dan is starring as Claiborne.
You got it.
Okay, and Haskin was almost starring as Secretariat.
Yes, well, we'll get into that at some other time. Okay. Well, I think we already did, didn't we? So.
Yes, we did. Okay,
yes, so
everybody have a great, we got a great weekend of racing coming up the first weekend of October in California and New York and other places such as Indiana. Have a great time watching those races, and we will be back with you right after that weekend on October 6th. Until then, have a great time. Steve, take care.
You too. Bye-bye, everybody.
See ya.